Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. It is time for yet another iteration of This Week in Master Duel. This is the weekly news series that we do here on the channel, in which we talk about, well, of course, the happenings of the last week of Master Duel. Today we're going to be talking about the new event. We also, as always, are going to be taking a look at Untapped. To see some of the ranked ladder stats there. Talking about some rumors that have been going around about possible new cards that are dropping, and then we'll look at some tournament results after that. So, as always, we're going to start here in the client. We're going to see what's going on in the notifications tab, starting from the bottom here. So last week we had the new secret packs with updates for various archetypes, as well as the new selection pack, Nightmare Arrivals. It certainly was a nightmare arrival for people trying to save up for gems, I'll tell you that much. However, Konami did make the gems at least a little bit more feasible to get. They reinstated the welcome gem packs. So for those who might not know what exactly that means, if you go up here to gems, you actually have options to buy some of them at a discounted rate, right? Like there's a sale going on right now that's temporary, but there's also, limited time opportunities, welcome packs. Like you can buy them only so many times, but you don't have like a timer that's going to run out on them. These were available at the start of the game, and they have reinstated those. So if you don't mind whaling or just spending money, it's not really whaling if you spend just a little bit of money, but if you don't mind spending a little bit of money, then you can get some gems that way there. But yeah, I mean, I guess that is one kind of consolation. Still definitely a little like, to have to spend so many gems in such a short amount of time for so many important different decks too. Of course, the Nightmare Arrival selection pack brought not only the new illusion type, but also support for a lot of older archetypes. Most notably, not even listed here, most notably going to be Rescue Ace Pearly and some support from Mikanko too, but Mikanko did also get a secret pack, which is definitely worth noting. But that's all from last week. So here, there's a couple of new items. New accessories added. New mate base limiter removal. That's kind of cool. It looks pretty good. It's pretty faithful to the original art, so it's kind of neat there. Although I will say mate bases are probably some of the most boring accessories out there. New event, Duel Triangle, Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz. So this is going to be our monthly event here. Again, if you are looking for some more gems and don't want to drop money, this is definitely going to be the way to do it. The way the event works is that you pick a group, and then I think you duel against the other groups, right? So, if, for example, you locked yourself into Fusions, then you would be fighting against Synchro and Xyz players. I think, I haven't actually played it yet myself, but let's see. Fusion group can only include, yep. This event, participants will join one of the three groups, and duels will be played between the groups. Right. So I think between the groups does mean that you are fighting people from the other groups and not your own. Although maybe you'll fight your own as well. From what I've heard people say, it sounds like Pearly is definitely the way to go for this event. It's one of the decks that was hit the least. I've also heard that Cash is pretty popular. I've seen people talk about playing Tear Lament, but it seems like Xyz decks are kind of the way to go. Again, from the brief, I guess, talkings I've heard about what's good in the event here. I've seen multiple people say just play Pearly, so that's probably what I'm going to do. But that's all we have here for in Master Duel itself. So let's pop on over here. We're actually going to start with Untapped. So wanted to start by looking at the ranked ladder meta and see how things have been shaping up, especially since the latest selection pack dropped. And all the data that you're seeing here is from the last week. So this is all of these stats, all of these games are with all of the new support being played. And one thing we'll notice right off the bat is that I think it was pretty debatable if we were in a tier 0 meta before, but if we were before, we're definitely not anymore. We're only looking at Diamond and Master Rank, which is pretty usual, just to make sure we're getting some nice quality stats there. And even in upper ranks, 21.2% is a far cry from the, what was it, like 30 and some change? Yeah, 33.4% rate that Snake Eye was being played at before, right? So definitely a huge chunk of the pie has been taken away from Snake Eye. And again, I think it was like barely considered to be tier 0 or able to be considered tier 0 beforehand. So I definitely don't think Snake Eye is a tier 0 deck now in Master Duel. Of course, I do still think it is the best tier 1 deck, but tier 0, no, not anymore. Definitely not. As you can see, it actually looks like Rescue Ace is taking a significant chunk of the pie here, being, I think, the only other deck that has a double-digit percentage stat. Yep, 12.1%. Not surprising, as Rescue Ace is completely unhit in Master Duel. None of the Rescue Ace cards are even semi-limited, so deck's at full power. It also gets to make use of the Diabell / Snake Eye engine, with not only Wanted to grab Diabell for Original Sin, but also Bonfire to grab Poplar for Original Sin as well. So it definitely makes sense. Obviously, the deck is both quite good on its own and has a lot of good support from the the strongest deck in the meta, right? So yeah, it definitely makes sense why we are seeing it represented by quite a number here. Also, like, it's definitely more just spread out in general. You'll see, like, Lab, I think, is the next most represented deck at, 8.9%. Tier after that at 7.7%. Just really, again, spreading out those numbers quite a bit. I'm surprised to see Branded so low at only 1.2%. Vanquished Soul seems to still be a very, very strong contender in the meta, only played at 1.2%, but as always, as we've been seeing for the last, couple of months now, Vanquished Soul is pretty consistently either the best, the deck at the top, in terms of win rate, or, within the top 5, at the very least. Usually top 1 or 2, so... And indeed, 56.1% is pretty good, especially compared to Snake Eye's 56.7% win rate. Trailing just after them are both Pearly and Monodim at 55.8 and 55.7% win rate respectively, both fairly close to 56, so 57 to 56%, or... Did I say that right? 56 to 55. Oh my god, I can't talk right now. 55 to 56% is what I meant to say. Is about the range of some of the top decks in the meta right now. Again, in terms of win rates here. The next deck below that is actually quite a bit down. Rescue Ace there has 53.4%, which actually kind of makes sense to me because, one thing you'll probably notice about Rescue Ace, in fact, let's take a look at some of the going first versus going second stats here. I wouldn't be surprised if Rescue Ace had significantly lower going second win rate, just because it can be a little bit, 40.9%. Everything else is at least above 40, right? 43.5, 45, 48, 48. It can definitely be a lot harder for Rescue Ace to go second than other decks. So I think this is probably the deck's biggest challenge, particularly in Master Duel Ranked Ladder, best of 1 meta. Definitely not to say that the deck can't do well, but it will definitely face a certain bit of a challenge that some other decks don't have as much of a problem with. So I'll be interested to see where Rescue Ace ends up settling as the meta goes on further. We'll see if it does end up going down in play or win rate at all. The rest of this is looking fairly standard, fairly about where you would expect to see things. Oh, here, that's interesting. Okay, Branded versus Branded Despia. What is the... Sometimes I have a bit of trouble figuring out how Untapped decides the difference between the two, because these breakdowns both look the same to me. Okay, well, we'll figure that out later. Kashtira, Kashtira was actually another one of those decks that was kind of up here with Vanquished Soul and Snake Eye for a minute, being both a good Snake Eye counter and just a good deck in general, but the play rate is dropped. Actually, let's look at the play rate of Kashtira in the last meta. Well, actually, it hasn't dropped by that much, but with Unicorn going to 2, pure Kashtira is just such a harder sell in Master Duel. I don't know. It's a deck that I like playing. I think Pure Kashtira is a very good deck, but as somebody who has been playing it even in the Challenger Cups, I will say that even a dedicated going second Cash deck definitely feels the consistency blow of losing the Unicorn, and just becomes more difficult to run as a result. Unchained, I think some people have been a little bit surprised about how low Unchained has been performing, right? I think in particular a lot of TCG players are expecting Unchained to rival Snake, I don't know, rival Snake Eye, but be up here with a lot of the other tier 1 decks, but no, I honestly think that lower tier 2, upper tier 3 is about where Unchained, honestly probably just tier 3 is where Unchained ends up being It's not a bad, of course it's not a bad deck. Like, no, like, anyone who says it's a bad deck is very, very much over-exaggerating and or just doesn't know what they're talking about. But it's definitely not going to be as meta-impactful as it was when the deck came to the TCG, for various reasons. Like, some people will say that, oh, it's because Master Duel has Max C, which is a baffling statement to me, because, like, last I checked, didn't we all agree that Max C does not keep combo decks in check, because of stuff like Auroradon combo and Dragon Link still being the best thing you can do at their respective points in the meta when they were legal in Master Duel, right? But I think it's more nuanced than that. I do think that Max C, the existence of it, does make it a little bit more difficult to play certain decks. I don't really understand why Unchained would be one of them. And I think that's kind of like the not thinking answer, right? Like, when people are like, oh, well, why doesn't Unchained do as well in Master Duel and TCG? People go to the not thinking answer of, well, the most major difference between the two is Max C is legal, so that's why, it's because of Max C. I really don't think that's the case. I think Unchained just enters a much weaker meta in Master Duel than it did in the TCG. I don't know much about when Unchained came out in the OCG, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a similar story. Here, though, especially again in the Master Duel's current meta where, like, Snake Eyes is a thing, like, I don't really understand why anyone expected Unchained to be a tier 1 deck in the current meta. Again, it's not bad at all, but definitely a far cry from a tier 1 deck, that's for sure. Okay, yeah, I mean, not many two other surprising stats. Resonator actually has a very, very high win rate. It does have a fairly low match volume, granted. If you're wondering what this means, by the way, low match volume, basically, in order to be ranked in an actual tier here, or like with these other decks that actually have, you know, more games represented, there's a threshold number of games that a deck has to pass, right? Otherwise, you know, I could play one game with, like, I don't know, Malefics and win it, and it would have a 100% win rate. And you can't, and like, you can't put Malefic 100% win rate, you know, at the top of the tier list. It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, like, Resonator has a low number of games, but a fairly high win rate. Chainburn, I've seen a lot of Chainburn lately, like, not personally, like on ladder or in tournaments, but just represented in, like, meta reports. I just see a lot more Chainburn running around. So I don't know if that's because of a recent card release, or maybe a TCG player has been doing well with it, or what. I mean, again, I haven't run into this deck, so maybe, but, like, maybe it's actually a thing. Because we'll see if it continues to show up here in various meta reports. Dinos, don't sleep on this deck. I think Dinosaur is actually crazy good. I ran into a lot of them in the most recent Challenger Cup and was very, very well surprised by how well they perform, especially under Maxi. Like, I've actually heard that Dinosaurs can take the Maxi challenge, but I never experienced that personally until the Challenger Cup, when I Maxi'd a Dino player, and they actually almost played through my 20-card hand with their end board, which is wild. That is insanity, so definitely not a deck to sleep on there. But, okay, so that's what's happening in the Master Duel Ranked meta. So next thing I want to talk about is not something that I have, like, not something I am confirming in any, like, way, shape, or form. This is entirely speculation. Also, I have heard certain rumors that we might be getting the cards I'm going to talk about, but I cannot confirm or deny that. So, the Legendary Dual Sword Burning Volcano pack. This was the pack that in the TCG brought us both Battle and Boxer and Volcanic. Two archetypes that we have seen recently come to Master Duel. So I think it stands to reason that the Salamangreat archetype, or the follow-up cards for it, would be some of the next cards to come into Master Duel in the relatively near future. So I want to talk about those Salamangreat cards a little bit. I don't know if they're going to be coming out, but it would make sense to me if they did at some point in the near future. So one of the big ones to talk about, I think, for the Salamangreat deck itself is Salamangreat of Fire. But some of the new Salamangreat cards, I think, are going to be much better on a generic scale than they are necessarily for the archetype, or at least they'll be played more generically than they'll see represented within the archetype. But anyway, Salamangreat of Fire is a level 2, my sprite senses are tingling, Fire Cybers, the under attack and defense, If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one level 4 lower Salamangreat monster from your deck to your hand, except Salamangreat of Fire. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except fire monsters. At the start of the damage step, if a Cyberse monster you control battles, you can banish this card from your graveyard, destroy that monster you control. Oh, it's kind of like Achichi's effect, and it kind of looks like Achichi at Ignister too, doesn't it? That's cool. You can only use each effect of Salamangreat of Fire once per turn. So, yeah, I mean, obviously a Stratos for the archetype is going to be pretty big, and is going to be a very nice consistency boost for Salamangreat. Salamangreat is one of those decks that's like been close to being rogue viable for pretty much its entire existence. And I think even with this wave of support, it'll still be a rogue deck, but this support will definitely be a way of allowing it to catch up in terms of power level to the rest of the meta, right? So, let's just do Control Tab. Yeah, here we go. Salamangreat Weasel is going to be another new card for the deck. Is a level 3 Cyberse tuner. Fire, of course, 700 attack, 1400 defense. If you have 2 or more Salamangreat monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a Salamangreat Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster is special summoned to your field, while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can target one other Salamangreat monster in your graveyard. Place this card on the bottom of your deck, and if you do, special summon that monster to your opponent's field, then draw one card. You can only use each effect of Salamangreat Weasel once per turn. So, this is rather interesting, right? Salamangreats do actually do synchro plays. I don't think they had, I think they had another synchro monster before, just kind of like ass, but they do have another one in this set too. And this, I think, is a pretty solid tuner. The first effect is not a terribly difficult extension effect to pull off, right? You don't even have to control 2 or more Salamangreat monsters, they just have to be in your graveyard. The other effect is pretty interesting. So, if you summon a Salamangreat extra deck monster, then you can put one of yours that's in your graveyard, one of your Salamangreat monsters, on your opponent's field, then draw one card. I can see a world where that's really useful for OTKs, potentially. Maybe there are some dedicated lines in the deck that I'm not aware of that this can really open up. I can't think of off the top of my head, a Salamangreat monster that really wants to be on your opponent's field. There's no Salamangreat, Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, right? But thank God for that, honestly, because otherwise this kind of effect would not be particularly fun or engaging if that were the case. But interesting card, nevertheless, there. Salamangreat Tiger, level 5 Cyberse tuner. Again, of course, Fire, 2000 attack, 500 defense. You can discard one other Salamangreat card. Special summon this card from your hand. You can only use this effect of Salamangreat Tiger once per turn. If this card you control be used as a secret material for a fire monster, you can treat it as a non-tuner. Once per turn, you can increase or decrease this card's level by 1. I mean, this is a really flexible card, but I just don't think it does enough by itself. Like, yeah, you could use it for various synchro or potentially even Xyz summons, right? It is an extender. You only have to discard a Salamangreat card. It doesn't even need to be a monster. And you can treat this as a non-tuner for a sync, but it's like, I don't know. I just don't think it does enough, personally. This card probably doesn't end up seeing any play. Salamangreat Burst Griffin is a level 8 Fire Cyber Synchro effect, 2800 attack, 2000 defense. Totally generic requirement, so only 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuners. You can target 1 level 7 or lower fire monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and if you do, reduce this card's level by that monster's original level. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except fire monsters. If this card is secret summoned by using Salamangreat Burst Griffin as a material, you can activate this effect. During the next standby phase, special summon 1 monster from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. So, like every Salamangreat extra deck monster, they give you a nice little bonus effect if you summon it another copy using, the original copy as a material. This one, the bonus effect, I think is pretty mid. Yeah, you get a body, but on your next standby phase, or the next standby phase, it's like a little better, but not by that much, honestly. If it summoned the extra body right away, then I think it would be worth going out of your way to try to, actually, summon another copy of this with the first copy. But as it stands, I think it's kind of meh. I think the first effect, though, is pretty cool. I like that this is generic, it's just generic fire synchro support. You know me, I love synchros. Going fast makes me feel alive, so I will definitely welcome new synchro monsters that can potentially be used in some sort of like cool, fun pile deck. So yeah, I like this card. It's not like strong or broken or anything, but it's cool and good. Okay, this is the big one. Not just in terms of being a Link 4, but in terms of like one of the probably going to be the most played of the new Salamangreat cards. Link 4, Salamangreat Raging Phoenix is a Fire Cybers. Link arrows point top, center, bottom, left, bottom, center, bottom, right. So up and then all three down directions. 2800 attack. Materials are 2+ fire effect monsters. So fairly generic, especially in this format. If this card is Link summoned using Salamangreat Raging Phoenix as a material, you can add a Salamangreat card from your deck to your hand. If a face-up fire monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, while this card is in your graveyard, you can target one of those monsters. Special summon this card, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to that monster's attack. You can only use each effect of Salamangreat Raging Phoenix once per turn. So, the reason that this is going to be the big new card, the biggest of the Salamangreat cards to come out, right, is going to be mostly for the fact that you can very much play this in Snake Eye, and this is probably just going to be better than Ambler Whale in Snake Eye. It's another free body on the board, basically when you do your Promethean Princess pop, right? Because the Promethean Princess will pop the Raging Phoenix plus an opponent's card, and I think that does trigger the if a face-up fire monster controls... Oh no, it has to be while this is in your graveyard, so... Okay, I see. So, after this is already in your graveyard. But, you know, if you, for example, Promethean Princess during your opponent's turn, but they still make a line and, you know, battle anyway, then you can bring out the Raging Phoenix as a big body that's going to be really hard for them to get over. On top of that, in that same vein, this will make it easier for you to then win, because, again, this will be a big body that will help you do a lot of damage. The attack buff is permanent. It's not till the end of turn, so it'll just stay however big you summon it out as. All in all, I think that, well, it's not even just I think, right? We've seen this in the TCG and OCG that not really many people play Ambler Whale. I think people are more on the Raging Phoenix, which I probably will just go ahead and make that switch to. I can see a world where Ambler Whale might be better for the destroy effect, but I think that's kind of situational. I think people will end up en masse playing the Raging Phoenix here. I think they have both a spell and a trap card they got as well. Quick play spell card Salamangreat Charge. Activate one of these effects, target 3 of your fire monsters that are banished and or in your graveyard. Shuffle 2 of the 3 into the deck, and if you do, special summon the remaining monster, but for the rest of the turn, its effects are negated, it also cannot attack. If you control a Fire, Ritual, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster whose attack is different from its original attack, target a card in the field, destroy it. Again, not even a Salamangreat specific card. This is more generic fire support. But this is another one of those cards where, like, it's fine. I just don't think it really does enough. It's pretty situational on both ends of it, right? Like, the first effect, you have to have 3 fire monsters banished or in the graveyard, and also want to summon the remaining one. Like, have something to do with it, too, because you can't attack or use its effects. And, I mean, the other effect is, like, just... It's not the most specific for Salamangreats. Like, a lot of the extract monsters in that deck do have attack buffing effects, but targeted destruction is still pretty meh. And especially to have to dedicate an entire card to it is also pretty meh. So, I don't know. Again, this is, like, not the worst generic fire support in the world, but I just can't think of a deck where I proactively want to put this card in, right? Alright, last one's going to be Salamangreat Revive. Normal trap card. Target 1 fire monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a Salamangreat monster you control and 1 monster in your graveyard with the same name. Shuffle that monster from the graveyard into the deck, and if you do, that monster you control gains attack equal to its original attack until the end of the turn. Yeah, actually more generic fire support. Just straight up normal trap card, special fire monster in your graveyard. But we are so far into the game, so far past the point where that effect alone is, like, worth playing at all. Especially on something as slow as a trap card that you have to set. You can't even just use it from your hand or cheat it out or anything. And the second effect does allow you to conditionally, like, do a lot of damage, or run over a big monster, or maybe an OTK sometimes. But I think conditionally is the key word. Not only just the condition of like having a Salamangreat monster, like again, the using ones with the same name as a material is a gimmick of the archetype, but that's actually the easier half to pull off. I think the real like convoluted part of this play is actually getting this trap card in your graveyard. I don't think it's worth. So all in all, Salamangreat stuff is not bad for the archetype. Again, I'm particularly looking at Salamangreat of Fire. I think this is a very nice boost to the archetype. And the Raging Phoenix is not only good for Salamangreats as well, but definitely will see play in other fire decks too, such as Snake Eye. So I would definitely expect this card and this card to probably be URs. But again, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't even know if these cards are going to be coming out soon, rather. I have just heard rumors that they might, and it logically makes sense given that we just saw the rest of the Soul Blazing Volcano pack. Just want to, again, really make sure I throw that disclaimer out there. So, okay, let's pop on over to Master Duel meta and finish off by looking at a couple of tournament results. So, Decade Meta Weekly. This is I believe the day of the new packs release. 144 participants. As always, single elim with one deck, best of 3, no side deck. And Snake Eye is eating much less of the chart than it has in the past. Granted, this is also literally the day the new pack came out, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this was new pack hype. But I also wouldn't be surprised if tournament top pie charts look like this moving forward. Again, it's pretty evident that we're no longer in a tier 0 meta. It's even debatable if we were in one in the first place. And even if you're going off of tournaments to base that opinion on, even though it doesn't really apply to ranked ladder, even then we're still seeing that it's not eating like a tier 0 amount of the top slots here. So looks like this Meta Weekly ended up being won by Braided Despia, not even really using any of the new stuff there at all. Just kind of funny. Cash Zodiac, the all-link build, coming in second here. Brixia, I played against this person in one of the Challenger Cups, actually. All right, Dinos, again, don't sleep on dinosaurs. Like, this deck's pretty good. And the new edition of Lars allows them to add even more disruption to their end boards there. Okay, we got Super Heavy Sam here in the top 4. Hero for our first top 8 deck. Saucy Senpai. Saucy Senpai rocking the twin sprite deck as always as ever. Love to see it. Love to see them topping as well. We have Fictinium here with a Synchro Snake Eye build. Also rocking a playset of droplets in it. That definitely makes sense for a full best of 1. Kid Art here is going to be playing Monadium, of course utilizing the new Visa Samsara as well as the Kashira package. Sir Costanza, that's a great name. Got a fairly standard looking Snake Eye list here. Actually, oh, it's got Craig Kara. I was like, is this my main deck? No, it's got Craig Kara, so it is different in that regard. I also say my main deck. I play a fairly standard Snake Eye list. It's not like it's mine or anything. Oh, here we have Pearly that's rocking D-Shifters and Chalices of all cards. That's interesting too. Oh, and the Rivalry of Warlords. But Shifter and Pearly, I mean, actually for a tournament where it's single elim, that does actually make sense to me, especially if it's best of 3. Yeah, because you wouldn't think of Pearly as a deck that wants to be playing Shifter. It definitely needs cards to be in the graveyard, but I guess if you're, like, going first, I can see a lot of worlds where you can just, or going second, rather. I can see a lot of worlds where the Shifter, like, definitely helps more than it hurts. I mean, that's the story with Vanquish Soul, right? Like, Vanquish Soul can play Shifter, but it definitely prefers not to have its stuff banished, so. Okay, here is a 60 card Rescue Ace plus Snake Eye build. I'm just looking over the list here. Wow, only 2 emergency in a 60 card deck. That's kind of wild. But I mean, So this is another interesting thing about Rescue Ace, right? Is that there's a couple of different ways that you can play it in Master Duel right now. Like, you could play a more pure deck, a more pure version of the deck, that you would probably still run Diabell, Wanted, Poplar, and Bonfire in, and Original Sin, of course. But on top of that, you could also play, like, a Snake Eye deck that also has a Rescue Ace engine in it. The only thing is, if you play a deck like that, you definitely need to go way over 40 cards. Like, you're honestly probably looking at, like, a minimum 50-card deck if you're choosing to play both Rescue Ace and Snake Eye, which is not inherently bad by any means. Of course, you can, not only can you, it's very likely that you'll do pretty well playing a list like that, but it is definitely something worth noting if you choose to play a list like that. Illusion Plunder. Illusion Plunder. I've actually seen this on Master Duel more than I've seen Illusion branded, which is kind of funny. It seems like Master Duel players, for whatever reason, are just not as optimistic about that variant of the deck, the one with branded. But yeah, when it comes to the Plunder Patrol deck, I've played against this and seen other people playing the Plunders with Illusions quite a bit lately. Got good old Math Mech sneaking in here. I don't know about Raigeki, Storm, and Duster, or I mean, yeah, Storm and Duster, but I mean, if it worked for them, you know. Also, yeah, it's single UM best of 3, okay. Ooh, I love it. Tier Limits with the Rev Synchron, we love to see it. I think by this point, like, there was a point in time where I was pretty convinced that like, a more pure, like, non-synchro focused build was the best way to play Tier Limit, but we've seen so many builds top with the Rev Synchron, I think it's pretty close to 50-50. Hey, speaking of 50, here is a 50-card Rescue Ace build here. Not playing the Snake Eyes, but 50 cards because they're taking a lot of other stuff here, like the Econs and the Droplets and all that fun stuff. Oh, looks like they are also on the Terahertz Extra Deck package, which is kind of neat. Another Monadium here, of course rocking Samsaras, and also playing the Cash Extender package there. Alright. So there's the top 16 from the Decade Meta Weekly. One more tournament to look at before we end off here. That's going to be Master Cup number 40. 73 players, also single elim best of 3. They did have a side deck for this one, though. And this one was won by a more pure Rescue Ace deck that's rocking the Super Poly package. Kind of like the one that I was experimenting with. Ooh, they're also playing the yeah, I think the Earth Golem is really, really good Super Poly target right now. Yeah, if I was going to play pure Rescue Ace, this is probably about the way I would play. I mean, it's also just pretty close to the way I built it, too. But, yeah, I like this build quite a bit. Another Pearly list. Ooh, rocking the DD Crows there. As some nice disruption just in the meta in general, but I imagine also aimed at Snake Eye a little bit there, too. No Ghost Trick package here. Looks like this is Snake Eye, Synchro stuff. Got the Droplets as well. There's Rixia again with the Kashira Snake Eye. Okay, here is another tier limit list. This one not running the Synchro package, however. Well, it's got a couple of Synchro monsters, but it doesn't have Rev Synchron. That's the main one. The main one I look at. Oh, I think this is the same Pearly person from the Decade Meta Weekly, because they're still on Shifters and the Chalices here, and the Droplet, or not Droplet, the Rivalry of Warlords. That's not Forbidden Droplet. Lily Clo, I've seen that name quite a bit. Looks like they are on Rescue Ace here. Ooh, with the Auroradon extra deck. I love it. I love Auroradon. Such a cool card. And we have a branded list to round out this top 8 here. Pretty standard looking one. It is playing Grass and Dogmatica Maximus, but those are not too out of the ordinary. Alright, so that's going to do it for this week in Master Duel. Thank you so very much for watching, as always as ever. Let's go ahead and move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for support supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details, again, will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description, linked below, is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.